You can start.
So could you share some experience about your educational background with us?
Well, I have been educated in different parts of the country, right? My parents were in government service, and they were from UP.
Okay.
And when I was young, then UP was too big. There was no separate Uttarakhand.
Yeah.
So I have been educated in Baliyan, Azamgarh, Banaras.
Okay.
Then I have also been educated in Rampur, Muradabad. Yeah, and then I have also been educated in Almora, Nainital, right?
Okay.
So that was a fantastic experience.
Definitely.
But the negative feature was that we were moving very fast every 2 years. So when you are with the service class parents, you have certain advantages and disadvantages. Like army people, they see whole of India, but then they have to adjust everything, right? And it has been a very fantastic experience reflecting on my childhood, right? Because my parents were very liberal, and I was never under tension to study. So whatever I studied, I learned. Probably I didn't memorize many things, right?
So from all those rural places to such a spectacular height, sir, how it feels right now?
I feel good, and I also feel that study and hard work, they are lifelong attributes. It's not that you are studying and you are working hard till you are in a college or you are in a university. If you want to do something good in life, then probably you have to work hard till you die, right? And the day when you are not studying, you are not working hard, in other words, you are not using head and heart, you are a dead man.
So do luck also contribute in gaining success, or it's just your hard work?
Well, see, luck is something which is, unsystematic. So sometimes it favors you, sometimes it goes against you.
Yeah, so you just can't depend upon it.
You can't depend on it. So sometimes what happens that you get something that you don't deserve, and sometimes you don't get something which you deserve very much. And in short term, it affects you, right? Good or bad.
Right.
But if you take a longer term perspective, then it neutralizes.
It neutralizes, right.
Right? So you have to take a long term perspective of luck, and then you realize that luck is not that important. But if you take short term, for example, you have your examination and suddenly you get viral fever, right? Then it is your luck, bad luck, right? Or you have read only certain chapters and questions comes only from those chapters, then you are lucky. But if you see, 10 years of your study, then somewhere you win, somewhere you lose, and luck is not important, right? So that way we need to have a realistic perspective on luck.
Oh, so what about your subject of preference?
Basically, I have been trained as a psychologist. I did my PhD from Allahabad University, which was a major center of psychology. And then I did my postdoc from University of Michigan, which is also a major seat of psychology.
Okay.
So I'm in love relationship with psychology.
So, sir, are you in this profession by chance, or is it your own choice?
No, I decided to be. When I did my graduation, then I had two choices. One was I could be a law student, and another was psychology. So I decided to be a psychology student. Again, after my masters. One was that I prepare for competitive exams and go for a government job, and second one was that I do my PhD. So both decisions were consciously taken. And in psychology, you know, the most fascinating thing has been that how to manage oneself. You know, a lot of things in the world are our own reflection. There is no objective world, right? So whatever we see, I'm not saying that it is all subjective, but you know, there is also a lot of personal reflection of what you are, right? If you have a positive mindset, then this world is nice for you. If you don't have a positive mindset, then this world is nasty for you.
So, but
If
positive
you are confused, then the world is, you know, cataclysmic. If you are clear, then the world is systematic. Yeah, you were saying something.
I was saying, like you were saying about the positive, having a positive approach every time, but that doesn't generally work in all the cases. I mean, you do learn from experiences, but
You do learn, and there are bad times, but what kind of meaning you assign to your experiences, that is under your control. A negative situation is not under your control, but how do you see? In Indian tradition, we have a saying, कि जो भी होता है भले के लिए होता है, right?
Yeah.
So what is meaning of that? That even if a bad thing happens for your good, so how do you see the event, right? And if you have the positive interpretation of the event, then there is something to learn, there is something to do. But if you don't have that positive interpretation of the situation, then you become a loser, right? So living is just a mind game, right?
yeah.
So if you are positive, if you are optimistic, if you are smart, then you give a positive interpretation of the world. And if you are not smart, then you give negative interpretation. And then both have their own good cycle and bad cycle, right? And this is where we have a choice, whether we want to go for a good cycle or bad cycle. That does not mean that those people who go for a good cycle, bad things don't happen to them. And those people who go for bad cycle, good things don't happen to them, right? They will happen. But then how do you relate with the world? How do you relate with the events? That's the main point.
So how do you differentiate in your personal life and your professional life?
Personal life and professional life. See, when you are young, then there is this boundary between personal life and professional life. As you grow older, then this boundary melts down, right? Because the job that I'm doing, it is 24 hours every day, right? So I may not be, sitting in my office, but I have to think of my students. I have to think of their placement. I have to think of networking.
So do you get time for your family at the same time?
No, see, you have to work on both things simultaneously. For example, you can talk to your family for half an hour, and then you can make some important phone calls. Right? So you have to strike a balance. It's not family versus profession. It's always an issue of how do you strike a balance. Right? So if you work for a balance, then it comes. But if you say, no, I have to work for my family and my profession is coming in between, or I have to be a professional and my family does not allow me to be a professional, then there is going to be a problem. So the whole issue is how to strike a balance. And it depends from time to time. There are situations where profession is more important, and then there are situations when family is more important. So you have to think about it, and then strike a balance.
So my last question about this institute. So how is our institute, Jaipuriya, different from other MBA institutes?
Well, firstly, those people who are behind Jaipuriya, they have been educationists. Long back in 1945, Jaipuriya family opened a college in Kolkata. Then they opened a school. They opened one school in Lucknow and one in Kanpur. So somewhere they had dedication for education, and then they decided to go for higher education. They also decided that they would be only in management education because they wanted to be in higher education in limited fashion. But their vision was very clear that we would provide quality education to our students. So everything starts from there, right? The second thing is that, we at Jaipuriya always kept the development of students in mind. So all of us exist not for ourselves but for our students. So that is the first point, right, to differentiate. Whatever we are doing, if we are hiring IRCTC for, then we are not going to eat, students are going to eat. So whether IRCTC would be able to provide service or not. If you get a vendor, for example, we had a big brand like Bikaner, and they failed to service our students. We said, no, thank you very much. Right?
Right.
Similarly, when it comes to faculty, this institution is not for faculty. Faculty members are very important, but they are for students. So if they are able to add value to these students, they are very much needed. But if we find that someone is not able to add value to students, then we say thank you very much, right? So everything, revolves around students. That is one. The second thing is that our faculty members are highly qualified, right, and very well trained. Because we realized that student development would happen only through faculty engagement, right? So unless you have competent and committed faculty members, the student development would not take place. So we are quite choosy in selecting our faculty and then developing our faculty. Okay. For example, Professor Poonam Sharma went to US, then Professor Aman went to Sweden, then Professor Ritika went to Switzerland, and then Professor Moid went to Indonesia. So we keep on sending our faculty members for foreign exposure. Within India, we give them the best exposures. They attend training programs in IIMs, ISB. Then, we also give them the best facilities, right? So that is the second differentiating factor. The third differentiating factor is that we are very much aware that students come to us for making their careers, right? So we have a very strong career cell where we have about 5 people. We have VP Singh, we have Professor Jones, Kanchan, Prerna, Narayan. So we have 5 people. And then in our corporate office, we again have a cell of 4 professionals, right? So we work on the career development of the students in a very serious fashion, slowly and gradually developing our network, building the capabilities of the students, enhancing their employability skills, and